Extremoduro. Extremoduro Spanish pronunciation. Extremoduro are a Spanish hard rock band from Plasencia, Extremadura. The band is led by Roberto Iniesta, also known as Robe, who is often referred as El Rey de Extremadura, the King of Extremadura. The name Extremoduro is a pun on the band's home region in western Spain, Extremadura, and roughly translates as extremely tough, rough edge, or, more literally, hard extreme. The band was created in 1987 and is regarded as one of the most influential bands of the Spanish hard rock scene, besides being a complete symbol for their region. Influenced by the Spanish literature, Iniesta's lyrics are often described as rude street poetry, with frequent allusions to drugs, sex, and self-destruction. Well-known songs by Extremoduro include So Payaso, Golfa, Salir, Extremadura, Puta, and Jesucristo García. The highest moment in the band's career was probably reached with the release of their album Agila, which was awarded a prize for Best Video in the first edition of the Spanish Music Awards in 1997. It is considered one of the best Spanish bands ever by several music magazines. They were ranked number 6 on Rolling Stone's 50 Greatest Spanish Rock Bands. In December 2019, the band announced a farewell tour of 8 cities for May and June 2020. History. The beginnings 1987 to 1991. Roberto Iniesta, also known as Robe, establishes the band in the summer of 1987 in Plasencia, the second most important city of Cáceres, a province of the west of Spain. Previously, in 1983, he had formed the band Dosis Letal with Zissimo Zossi Pascual, with whom he composed the song La Carrera. That would later come to be the penultimate track of Extremoduro's 1996 disc Agila. Extremoduro were initially formed by Robe as vocalist and guitarist, Chico on the bass and Miguelin on the drums. This initial setup lasted just a few months, after which Robe decided to reconfigure the group and found Salo and Louis Von Fanta to replace Kaito and William respectively. With this new dynamic in place, and with the difficulty they faced recording an album, they decided to sell vouchers to their acquaintances at 1,000 pesetas each that would entitle each of them to a copy of the demo tape after it had been produced. They sold 250 of these coupons, whose buyers are credited in the finished production. After this, they produced 1,000 copies of this first demo, which already contained some of the quintessential anthems of the group. The distribution of this transgressive musical offering of rock began to attract attention inside and outside their home region of Plasencia. It was so well received that the Catalan television program Plastic invited them for a live performance. They were then selected for the national final of the Yamaha Trophy, in which they finished third. It was in this final that Avispa Music noticed them and began negotiations for the release of their debut professionally recorded album, Tu en tu casa, Nosotros en la Agila. The album was recorded that summer, containing the same songs as Rock Transgressivo in addition to Amor Castuo. The group often expressed dissatisfaction with the outcome, and, in fact, in 1994, it was remixed and partially re-recorded to be reissued under another name. At the end of this deal-making 1989, Robe restructured the band again. He switched to the role of supporting guitarist, to focus on the delivery of the vocals. In this way, Salo became lead guitarist, and Carlos Dirty took up the vacancy for a bassist. In 1991, a deal was struck with Wasp to record the second album, but due to the poor expectations that the label offered, they decided to break this contract and sign with Pasión Area Creativa, like Avispa Music, an independent company, but this time with better conditions. They record a second album with them in Madrid, Somos Unos Animales, published in July 1991. With the collaboration of vocalist and guitarist Madrid Rosendo Mercado X Lino on the songs La Canción de los Oficios voice and Pero Calogero guitar, they themselves define it as the beginning of the true sound of Extremoduro that the band calls transgressive rock. In this first period, drugs, especially heroin, were the inseparable other member of the group. As such, the group's live performances, usually considered their greatest asset, were unpredictable to say the least. Though they now had presence in the Spanish rock scene, it was said that Extremoduro's live gigs were either unforgettable or a disaster. The group began to sell a lot, and Parisian area creative proved too small for their ambitions, which, together with other disputes, royalties not being paid for this LP, lead to them signing with d'Aro in 1991, giving them better distribution and promotion, and the means to the success that later years brought. Signing up with d'Aro Atlantic. d'Aro Discos Radioactivos Organizados was a record company founded in the 80s as Spain's first independent record label by members of the Aviator Dro techno-pop outfit. Extremoduro got signed up with them in 1992. It was one of the largest independent labels in Spain. However, it was in the process of being sold off to Warner Music International, one of the most important multinational actors in the music business. Although the label has changed its name d'Aro Atlantic, d'Aro East West, Warner Music España. Extremoduro has published all of its albums through them since signing up. Indeed, they have re-edited their two previous albums with d'Aro. In 1992, the third studio album came to be, the first within their contract with d'Aro del Toya. This had its origin in a spin-off project from the band of Robe's Extremozoid, although circumstances would cause this to be published as another album of Extremoduro's. The album has a more erotic and less social theme than the previous discs, and most of the lyrics are adaptations of the poems by Kiko Luna Crescent, Tomas Rodriguez, the band's manager, and Manolo Chinato. The album includes the voices and participation of other artists, such as Argentinian singer and guitarist Ariel Roth in Volando solo. It would not be the last time that Robe hatched upon a project that was independent of the group, nor the last time that this independence would prove to be short-lived. 1993 is a crucial year in the history of Extremoduro. For starters, they cross paths with Iñaki Uojo Anton, then guitarist of Platero Y2 in Bilbao, and together with other musicians start a new project, La Pedra. Robe is responsible for voice and guitar, Uojo for a second guitar, keyboards, and percussion, and they join Agila, bassist for Quemando Rudas, Cicatriz, Antisocial, Gary drums for Cuatro Clavos, and Celu from Reincidence with his saxophone and cant jondo. In August, they take to the studio to record a half-hour of music, but it is highly experimental and discontinuous, and the label refuses to back it, as it is seen as too risky. They would have to wait 2 more years for it to be sold commercially. Still, thanks to the stability that d'Aro gives the band, Robe is able to start a side project to Extremoduro in Barcelona, the Q3. This gives space to accommodate the ideas that did not work within Extremoduro. Jorge El Mojo is on drums, Eugene on the guitar, Michel Ferreras on bass, and Ramon Sogasmon on the other bass. Meanwhile, drugs continue to permeate Extremoduro, and throughout the tour there are disagreements in the band that lead to its breakup. After being part of the band since recording the demo and 3 albums, drummer Luis von Fanta, bassist Carlos El Sucio, and guitarist Salo left the group. Robe, not about to see the band go down the pan or abandon their dreams, replaces the disbanded members of Extremoduro with members of Q3, which marks the end of this project but saves Extremoduro. It was with this collection of musicians that recorded the fourth album, Donde Están Mis Amigos, which continues the style begun with Del Toya and confirms their reputation as one of the most important groups of Spanish rock. However, they remain unknown to the public at large due to their political incorrectness and raw style. The album was recorded in autumn 1993 and was published later that year. While all his works hitherto had been self-produced, this is the first record for which they hired a professional producer, Ventura Rico. This LP is considered the most personal and intimate of the band. This is probably due to the disintegration of the group. Fernando Medina from Reincidents takes part in the song Pepe Botica, Donde Están Mis Amigos. Band members. Current. Roberto Iniesta, Robe voice and guitar. Inaki Uoho Anton, guitar, keyboard, and other instruments. Michel Colino, bass. Jose Ignacio Cantera, drums. Past. Guitar. Solo 1990-1993. Eugenio 1993-1994. Inaki Milindris Session 1994-1997. Bass. Kaito 1987-1988. Solo 1988-1990. Carlos El Sucio 1990-1993. Michel Ferreras 1993-1994. Ramon Monsogas 1993-1998. Agila Gare 1998-2001, and bass guitar on Pedra 1995. Drums. William 1987-1988. Luis von Fanta 1988-1993. Jorge El Moja 1993-1994. Alberto Capigil 1994-1997. Timeline. Discography. For a detailed listing of albums by Extremoduro, see Extremoduro discography. Main albums. Rock Transgressivo 1989. Solos Unos Animales 1991. Del Toya 1992. Donde Están Mis Amigos 1993. Pedra 1995. Agila 1996. Euros Todos a Tomar por Kilo 1997 live album. Canciones Prohibidas 1998. Yo, Minoria Absoluta 2002. Grandes Éxitos y Fracasos Episodio Primero 2004 compilation album. Grandes Éxitos y Fracasos Episodio Segundo 2004 compilation album. La Ley Innata 2008. Material Defectuoso 2011. Para Todos los Públicos 2013. Videography. Gira 2002-2004 DVD live performance.